Amasquatchie-Waskahikan, otherwise known as Edmonton, is a city deeply rooted in arts and culture. Home to diverse, passionate, emerging voices in music who deserve to be heard and appreciated. I'm VISSIA, and this is Dirt City Songbook.
Hi, I'm Aunty, and I'm a pop folk singer-songwriter here in Edmonton, Alberta.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me for Dirt City Songbook.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I think I would just like to start off with kind of where Salty Aunty comes from. What's your story?
Yeah, so my artist name is Salty Aunty. I have always kind of wanted to perform under an artist name. I kind of like the idea of going into a little alter ego or kind of having a separate act that's kind of different from like who I really am, I guess. And the name came from, I was kind of inspired by, I'm sure you know, Soccer Mommy. I discovered her earlier this year, and I just fell in love with her music. I thought her kind of marketing or her name and branding was genius, and I was like, I want a cool name too. So I kind of took on Salty Aunty because I was like, different from my real life where I know one day I want to be a mom and I want to be like kind of a nurturer or whatever. In my artist sort of life, I kind of like imagine being the cool aunt with no kids, and the salty kind of it's just like a little funky. Like my music right now is more, I'd say, like folky and singer-songwriter, but I do play with bands occasionally, and I think I want to move kind of in that direction. And I love groove music. I love funky music. So I was like, salty is just it's just like a little bit more attitude. And
Totally, yeah. I think the term salty definitely exudes attitude.
Yeah.
And that's why I was wondering. I was like, but I think like, your music itself, at least when you perform solo, has kind of a more like, kind of a softer, like dreamy kind of feel to it. So like musically growing up, did you have some influences like when you were a kid or even a teenager, or are there influences that you think have kind of contributed to your sound as it is now?
Well, definitely, like every artist is obviously influenced by kind of the music that they hear growing up. I would say some of my influence comes from being raised in the classical background. I found like when I first went to university, which I went for jazz and contemporary pop music. So for the first time in my life, I was hearing, I guess like contemporary pop, I would explain more as group and like bands and stuff. And whereas I grew up, my first instrument was the classical piano. It's very solo. It's very like, it's not really rhythm based as much either. It's more like you can kind of do whatever you want and play whatever you want. So definitely that reflects in the music that I play solo, even on the guitar now. But I've always kind of like groove music has been a mystery to me. And like, I kind of honestly forget the question now. I've kind of gone into this tangent, but like
that's all good.
Yeah.
Just with just influences, and it could be musical. Sometimes it's other things too. But no, that's great. And I guess like, what were you like as a kid? What would you say?
I was extremely loud, and I really loved attention, and I was the youngest. And my sister is 5 years older than me, and she like absolutely loved me, and like was begging my parents for another like a sibling. So she like nurtured me and like gave me all the attention and like told me I was the best, and like I was definitely the little diva. But I definitely think like as I've grown up, I've mellowed out a little bit more, and which is kind of nice. I think you're meant to kind of grow and leave old habits behind. But I think my music kind of reflects that softer side of myself. But yeah.
Little white girl, won't you take us cozy and clean, love those polyester seats. Woke up our stuff, throw it in the trunk, woohoo. And there's nothing like being on the road with you. Passing in the left lane at 135, slowing before bridges where the cops hide. The ox goes back and forth, you play country, I play jazz, and no one understands how unsettlingly settling this is. So little white car, won't you take us far away from city lights, closer together in the night. And I'll grab the keys, you grab our lunch, and there's nothing like being on the road with you. The conversations we are having, sometimes funny, sometimes maddening, that's the way it is on this road trip. And I stare out the window, see the forest for the trees, brings me a sense of peace, how unsettlingly settling this is. Say we go fishing when we get there, might be crossing lines, you got a spinner, I got a fly, now we're hopelessly entwined. So little white car, won't you take us far? You'll take us the distance, oh, you'll take us the distance, you'll take us the distance to our hearts.
So, did you grow up in Edmonton or did you grow up elsewhere?
Yeah, I grew up in Edmonton here. I was born and raised in the same house. I lived in the same house my whole life until I moved out in university.
Would you say being in Edmonton has had kind of an influence on you musically, or like how you came to music? Because that's like another thing I'm always curious about, like if there was like a specific person or experience or something that just like grabbed you at some point in life where you were like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, like what kind of drove me into music? So definitely, I think growing up in Edmonton and in Alberta has shaped who I am as a musician and my style. I've had a lot of people actually tell me I sound like Nora Jones, whether or not I agree with that or not.
Right.
But I think what they hear in her is like kind of like the more jazzy, softer voice. But then she also has country roots. So I think it's kind of like in the same way I have like kind of folk and country roots just from growing up in this area where there is so much roots music and country music. But then like my voice being more mixed and jazzy. And yeah, as for music, this actually has been like the dream for a long time. Of course, things I think have changed, and I was like, well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do this. But I think all along, ever since it was like the first thing I ever wanted to do, um, I guess like I had good ears, so my sister would be in piano lessons, and as like a 3-year-old, like she'd be done, and then I'd hop on the piano and play. This is my parents saying this, so I don't know how accurate this is, but like they might have, to them I was genius or whatever. But I just like basically went and would play what I heard, and so my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, like I need to put her in piano lessons," uh, and the program I ended up doing, we did composition, so we'd have to write a little song and then we'd compete. And one of the years I won, and I remember thinking, oh, like this is a career that's different. Like I want to do this and it feels like me, and like I could sit at the like as a kid, like I had a pretty short attention span, but I could sit at the piano and lose track of time, which is something that like makes you feel alive and like like just makes me feel so good. So
Yeah, like
yeah,
it like draws you into the present moment like nothing else kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And especially like in the world that we live in now where there are nothing but distractions really. It's like so easy to just get caught up in the day-to-day like little details, I think, but um are there other ways that you find like ways to be present like that, or is it still like music for you? Like some people I know like they do different like mindfulness things or anything, but are there other things in your life that kind of bring you that sort of peace, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think music is one of those double-edged swords. It's like, people are, I don't know, I was trying to think of this one meme where it's like, oh, like music is my therapy, and then it shows like the next picture of you like smashing the guitar. Like, yeah, so like it's definitely one of those things where if I'm trying to get something and it's not happening, like it's very frustrating. So no, like it's not like the only thing I rely on. I do, yeah. I've gotten in. My dad actually got me into yoga when I was about 11 or 12 years old, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Like he also is like kind of a more conservative person. Like grew up really religious and definitely with like kind of like very Christian beliefs, and like I thought it was pretty cool. Like I would have never pictured him like as someone to get really into yoga. But he did. There was a yoga place that opened near our house, and he got like the monthly pass and went almost every single day for a couple years. And I joined him, and like it was kind of our little happy place. And from there, I kind of yeah, I like meditating. I like it's good to have more than one tool, I think, to
Yeah, totally.
to stay okay, and especially you never know what life is going to throw at you. So, yeah.
So when it comes to composing, songwriting, like it sounds like you've been doing it for a long time, like talking about those lessons and like, you were asked to like compose something and present it. So I guess, yeah, first of all, when did you write your first song?
That's a good question. I guess like as a little kid, I wrote little songs. Like I found, um, I was going through old stuff and I found this one where like notepad. My mom's a nurse and she would like steal these like notepads from the nurse. So it's like always just like a memory there I have.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song called "Why Is Your Room a Pigsty?" And so that's probably like literally the first song I ever wrote. But I I wrote one song for my high school graduation.
Oh, wow.
And it was really long, and looking back, like I think it's so bad. But like at the time, like I was really, really proud of it. And like I played it in front of everybody at our grad. And then, yeah, going to school, I first started learning how to finish songs, and that was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice though to like have that like as a moment to see like your growth and progress as like an artist, right?
Yeah.
Um yeah, like everyone comes to songwriting differently. I know some people, start with the melody or they pick up an instrument first. Um or some folks are really like lyric focused from the start. So I guess how does it work for you? Like
So I, generally speaking, I definitely do melody and harmony at the same time. I like just kind of, it quite literally, I guess, I do find like a chord progression or a little doodad that I like, and then I'll add a melody over top with kind of lyrics at the same time. I find some of the best songs I write kind of happen like that. However, of course, when there's other restrictions, like I need to like a deadline or something, there's different tools I've developed. Like I can write a song with poetry first and then adding some sort of music. It doesn't feel quite as natural to me, and I do in my lyrics I like having a sort of simplicity. I like I like when lyrics are simple and purposeful more than super flowery language. Same thing with when I'm reading a book. But so yeah, I think it works that I kind of write at the same time as, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think like, yeah, the way that you're describing too, like lyrically, like kind of keeping it more simple. I mean, like from what I've heard of your songs so far, like they definitely like paint a picture, or it's like Super 8 film or something. Like, you know, it's like those little moments
Yeah.
that like really end up feeling like very touching to the listener, I think. And even if they're not the one, you know, like riding in the little white car, it's like they feel like that could be one of their own memories. You know?
That's kind of what I hope for.
Yeah, I think that's totally it. And like, and I think that's like, yeah, music is so connective that way. And so I guess like, you know, we all have our own reasons for creating, and a lot of it is just our own survival sometimes, for sure. But how would you describe like, yeah, your relationship to like being a creator of songs? Like what does the I guess if there's like motivators, I guess that's one way of describing it, but just like what really draws you into that as a practice?
There's just something about playing music and creating specifically, different in a different way than just playing someone else's song. I think playing my own song and putting my emotions, which are so intangible and kind of like don't really exist, into a piece of music, just like makes me feel like I'm heard, and it's so emotional for me, even if like I don't share that with anybody. But it's like I honestly like feel emotional thinking about it right now. But there's just
Yeah.
like something about it that makes me feel so different than anything else.
That's like the most beautiful thing ever. Seriously. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel really privileged to get to share this space with you right now. So thanks again for doing this. But I guess moving forward, I know like the times have been really strange for musicians and creatives, and we've kind of had to hole up for a long time.
Yeah.
But do you kind of have, you know, visions of grandeur or like anything? It doesn't have to even be, you know, I just feel like music doesn't need to look like the same thing for everyone.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to get up on the stage so much. Like I think you do. I get that vibe that you're like, yes, I want to be on the stage for sure. And you've been getting back onto those. But yeah, looking ahead, I guess, like, do you see yourself somewhere? You've got like a dream about it?
Yeah, I definitely do. I've always kind of wanted that, and kind of always known that like that can't be like my one source of happiness, I guess. Like I think I could be happy even not doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I do really have a dream for being on the stage and performing. There's something about it that I really enjoy, and that just makes me feel so alive. Yeah.
My roommate gets her porridge and she sits on the green couch. I shuffle down the stairs and I get all freaked out. I'm still half dreaming. I'm still half dreaming. I didn't see her there. I didn't think that she was there. Didn't know that she was there, but she was there. And time goes by while I try to get a hold of my emotions. It's not fair. The odds are stacked against me, oh I swear. Kelsey's moving out of town. Guess I won't see her once she's famous. Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? And I want you to see the cup that's not half empty. The house isn't just old, it's old and charming. But maybe that's my subconscious just dreaming. I'm just dreaming. My roommate gives me back the book I lent her months ago. How'd I know that she'd only read a page or so? Kelsey's moving out of town. Guess I won't see her around. And Esther, she is leaving. I can't help myself but feeling like the next time that I see her will be ages once she's famous. Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? Oh,
I know you said that you have an album in mind that you're
Mm-hmm.
currently working on, or you're kind of getting into starting to work on that.
Yeah, like, am I doing anything currently?
But even thinking about it, that is
Yeah,
part of it. I think
I
that's
think
like
it's
part
part
of
of it
like
too.
envisioning it, like
Yeah.
and knowing like that you have your own timing, and like you know
Mhm.
sometimes we have to push ourselves, but like
Yeah.
kind of just like figuring out what that looks like for you is
Yeah, like I kind of feel like when the timing's right, it'll happen. And even though I feel like a lot of non-musicians don't really get this, but part of being a musician is like taking care of yourself and like making sure, you know, I'm learning how to become an adult and like pay my own bills and that sort of thing. And like, you know, I was jumping from job to job after university, so it's kind of like too much to kind of wrap my head around.
yeah.
But yeah, in the back of my mind, I was always kind of thinking, and I do have this album in mind, and I'd love to share my music and work on that. I just know that it's a lot of work, and
It is. Yeah, totally. But I think like just having like sort of like not expecting it to all happen all at once,
Yep.
and knowing like, I mean, I think like what happens with us a lot of times as the creators too, because like, you know, you write the song, you live with them for a while, you live with your songs longer than anyone does.
yeah,
And so sometimes there can be this kind of like feeling of urgency, or like, oh, should I be like really pushing, or like rushing to get this out? But I really liked what you said about like, yeah, a lot of people don't realize, you know, it's like, okay, musicians are just humans too, and we have to like settle into the other parts of life so that we feel supported and like healthy and like able to then like rise up and do the thing.
and I've definitely, and you probably can relate to this too, being a musician yourself. But I've definitely been in situations where like I just had to get it done, and I would do the project. And it felt so unfulfilling, but it also did, like, I learned a lot. Like that was a lot of school projects for me, where it was what was more valuable than that finished product was what I learned. So it's kind of like a balancing act. Like you do need to, you know, get down and do things. And I find kind of when I do that, I'm not really happy with the finished product, but I do end up developing in some sort of way. So it's kind of, now I guess if it's my baby, like my album, like I want the finished product to be like so everything I ever dreamed and wanted.
Yes.
So it's kind of like all the things that you don't think are related to the music. It is so personal. So like everyday things that's like a non-musician would kind of not think is related at all. It's like No, it's always kind of there in the back of your mind. It's just, I guess, like getting the timing right and
Yeah,
the energy
and
right.
sometimes having to carve it out too, and
Yeah.
just be like, okay, I need to carve out this time to do the thing.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, also like as a singer too, it's like all of life's stresses like affect you vocally too.
That's
So it's like
true.
another thing too, where it's like, oh yeah, okay, if I'm having like a really stressful week, I might not be able to sing as well or just feel as comfortable.
That's true.
Yeah, totally. So right now, because like obviously we talked about, influences that kind of brought you into music, but right now, are there things that are really inspiring you to like things to write about, or is there certain subject matter that you really are drawn towards? Like I already know, like you said, it's very personal, but yeah, are there like is it very kind of literal things from your life you find, or are you really good at like kind of imagining worlds? Like
No, I'm really bad at that actually.
I feel that honestly, personally. I'm like
You're like more like that?
I'm a lot more like I need it to be something like very literal in my
That's
life.
literally happened to you.
Yeah, and then I can kind of like, expand
yeah.
and like maybe fictionalize some stuff, but it has to
I'm
come from
exactly the same way. Yeah, my songs are all usually about real people and about real experiences, and whether or not like I change out some details or like, of course, like tell like a story that's not actually mine. But yeah, I'm very literal. Yeah.
And do you find like you're more drawn to creating when you're experiencing certain emotions even, or
I think it's shifted a little bit. I think when I was younger, I only ever wanted to write sad songs, probably because I was really sad all the time. But now I like writing songs that like sit a little bit sweeter, and like Little White Car is a very realistic love song to me, or it's not even really a love song, but it is very like affectionate towards this person, and reflecting on really good emotions, I guess. So I think I've been leading, and I also think like I've been a happier person lately. So I write about, I'm open to writing about those sort of emotions. It actually came really unnaturally to me, I'd say up until I was like maybe 19, to write any sort of happy song. It was just like felt so fake, and so I don't know, like if that's a really weird thing to admit, but I only ever wanted to write like upset songs.
Well, yeah, and I don't know about you, but it almost seemed like this mystery where I was like I have songs that I love that other people have written that make me feel good, but they're like not cheesy in the way that turns me off, or like they just really work. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like,
did you also have the no happy songs phenomenon?
Yeah. All heartbreak all the time. For sure. So, but yeah, I can totally relate to that feeling though of like coming into just like feeling more at peace and like happier as a person. So now it's like easier to like hone in on those emotions. But yeah, with like Little White Car, I just love how you're like focusing in on like those small details that like, because like I don't know, in sometimes when I think we imagine like love too, we think it has to be this like huge thing. But I think it's like all those little moments that are like the most touching, and like those are the memories, and like make that person special. So, but I think that that song just makes me feel like I want to be on a road trip driving through like the mountains in the spring, like all the greenery, and then you make it to the ocean or something. Like I don't know if there was like a specific road trip that you're singing about, but
I wrote it on a road trip. I actually wrote it on a ukulele. And then now today obviously performed on guitar, but yeah, I wrote it in the car.
Okay, that's really sweet. So, Salty Aunty, if people want to stay in touch with you, is there a preferred way, or like the best way that they should follow along with your journey?
Yes, so I have an Instagram at Salty Aunty, and I have a website, so I post little things that I've been up to, and kind of pictures from concerts and that sort of thing. And I'll probably be like that's where I put my news first. So
Yes.
yeah, online on the interwebs.
On the interwebs.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you again for doing this. It's been really lovely speaking with you and hearing your songs.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.